we need to exercise self-control. This is foundational for us. We have to resist the doggy in the window or whatever else is in the window. But how do we do that? How do we exercise self-control? Well, the answer, I believe, is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. So if you will open up your Bibles there. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. It's really easy to find. The Gospels in the New Testament comes first. Of course, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then comes Acts, and then comes Romans, and then comes 1 Corinthians. So it's really easy to find. It's chapter 9. And in chapter 9, the Apostle Paul is not talking about self-control. And actually, we will not find the words self-control in this passage that we're going to read today. But I believe that that's, in essence, what he's talking about. But before we get to our verses, the Apostle Paul has been talking about evangelism. He's been talking about how he's going to do anything, whatever it takes, to convince people to follow Jesus. And then in verse 24, he comes up with this athletic metaphor. A race, a foot race. Look what he says in verses 24 to 27 of 1 Corinthians 9. He says, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize." Now, verse 24, again, he uses this athletic metaphor. He talks about a foot race. And for the Corinthian church, the believers there in the city of Corinth, that's a great analogy to use. And why? Well, because they hold something called the Isthmian Games. And the Isthmian Games in Corinth in the first century was second only to the Olympic Games in terms of worldwide popularity. Everybody knew. Every other year, you went to Corinth and you participated in the Isthmian Games. It was largely track and field kinds of things. And so his readers really grab a hold of this metaphor and they say, "Oh yeah." They can identify with the Apostle Paul. Yeah, that's right. If you run, if you're really serious, if you really want to win the race, you can't just pull out a pair of shorts and a T-shirt and a pair of running shoes and get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Ooh, I think I'll go to the Isthmian Games and participate, maybe I'll win the prize. No, you can't do that. You have to go into training, right? You have to quit smoking. You have to lose weight. You have to get up at the crack of dawn. You have to have a training regimen. That's what he says here. So you have to go into training. In fact, verse 25 says just that. He says, everyone who competes in games goes into strict training. And that is the idea here. You're not going to win the race unless you've gone into training, unless you're serious, unless you're focused, unless you're disciplined. You really have to be focused in order to win this race. And then he says, I am not like a man. I don't run like a man who's just running around aimlessly. In other words, if you're really serious about participating in this foot race, in this Olympic trial, you're not going to sleep in until 10, and then have a couple of cigarettes, a couple cups of coffee, and then eating jelly donuts, and then you throw on your stuff and you go sort of jogging out, down the street. And you're really not sure where you're going or how long you're going to run. No way! Number one, you are in training, and so you quit smoking. Number two, you're up at the crack of dawn, right? Absolutely. And let me tell you, you know exactly where you're running, you know how far you're going to run, and you are timing how fast you get there, right? You are serious about this. You are in training. You have a training regimen here. And then he says, in the next phrase, he uses another sports analogy. He talks about, seems to be boxing. He says, I'm not like a guy who's just beating the air. The opponent's over here, and I'm boxing, I'm going to win. No way. When the Apostle Paul throws a punch, the opponent is right there, and he hits his man. That's the idea. Again, a boxer is not going to be successful unless they are serious, unless they're disciplined, unless they are in this strict training regimen. They really have to be disciplined. And then in verse 27, which I think is key to this whole passage, especially when we're talking about the topic of self-control, he says, very vivid verse, isn't it? He says, I beat my body and make it my slave, so after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified with a prize. Now, this is self-control. This is self-control. Beating my body and making it my slave. My body wants to sleep in. But my mind says, no, if I'm going to compete, if I want to be disqualified for this race, I got to get up at the crack of dawn. I have to be disciplined. This is self-control. Telling your body that I'm the boss. You're not the boss. And I'm telling you, I want to win this race. I'm serious, and so we are going to be disciplined. And I don't care if you want to sleep in. I don't care if you want to smoke a cigarette. I don't care if you want the jelly donuts. You're not going to get them. This is self-control. When you see the doggy in the window, you don't buy it. And whether we like it or not, when we're talking about this arena of finances and money, personal finances, we are in a competition of sorts here on earth right now. And again, the Apostle Paul here is not talking about money. I won't kid you, he's not. But I think the application for us, in terms of self-control and in terms of applying it specifically in the area of our money, is a valid application here. We are in an athletic competition of sorts. And you know what? When we beat our bodies and make it our slaves, we win. When I resist the doggy in the window, or the cell phone in the window, or the shoes in the window, I win. Right? We win when our spending is under control, when we don't spend more money than we take in. We win. But we have to be in this regimen, right? We have to be disciplined. We have to be focused. As a matter of fact, if I were to sort of sum up these verses in the context of personal finances and self-control regarding personal finances, here's how I would summarize them. We need a plan. Bottom line, we need a plan. We need a plan. The Apostle Paul needed a plan in order to be self-controlled, in order to be disciplined. Michael Phelps, when he won all those gold medals, did he just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I think I'm going to fly over there and I'm going to win some gold medals? No way. He was training for years. He had a plan. He was focused. He was disciplined. He had a training regimen. That's what athletes do. And in terms of our finances, if we want to be self-controlled, if we want to keep buying the doggy in the window, the shoes in the window, buying stuff with money that we don't have for stuff that we don't need, we have to deal with this area of self-control. And it's only going to happen if we have a plan. We must be organized. We must be focused. We must be disciplined. As a matter of fact, I'm going to suggest a plan here in just a couple minutes. But before I do, if we were to just jump right now to this plan, this proposed plan that I'm going to give you, we might end up thinking, well, I have a lot of work to do, all this whole idea of self-control, it's all on my back. You know what? It's not all on my back or your back. We have supernatural help. And I want us to see that. So turn over to Galatians